On today's show, we are joined by Bobby Blanco from MASNsports.com. And of course, we're going to get into this Dodger series as the Nationals have not been playing their best baseball. But even more importantly, has Davey Martinez been a little bit too conservative with his starting pitchers? We'll answer that after this.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Clare. You can catch me over on X at Ryan Clare11 and as well as the show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on X. And of course, we are joined by Bobby Blanco from MASNsports.com. Bobby and I will be discussing Yamamoto versus Mackenzie Gore today. It's a Game 3 preview, and yes, the Nationals have dropped the first two games in a little bit of a weird fashion, but this is going to be a hell of a baseball game today at 4 o'clock, 4:05 first pitch over at Nationals Park. We'll preview that game, kind of discuss this hype around Yamamoto, and of course, what to expect with him as he takes on Mackenzie Gore, Nationals ace of the staff. So we'll discuss that a little bit later on. Also kind of get into Shohei Ohtani and the hype around him, as we saw him hit one of 450 feet the other day. Was a no-doubter at Nationals Park. We'll discuss that later on as well. And of course, is Davey Martinez getting a little bit too conservative with his starting pitchers? I have some opinions on that. We'll ask Bobby about that as well. And of course, get into this Dodger series, as it's kind of been a little bit of a mess. But today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side and is a big fan of Monopoly Go. So the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play Store. So Bobby, you heard the rundown there. How we doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Ryan. Good to be back. Exciting day in DC right now, right? Like, you got the NFL draft tonight and an afternoon game against the Dodgers for the Nationals. So a lot going on today.
I know there is a lot going on today. And of course, there's a lot of fans that have their eyes on the NFL draft, rightfully so. But there's still baseball going on. The Nationals overall have been playing some good baseball, but over the last two games here against the Dodgers, it has not been pretty. Starting with Tuesday's loss, 4-1 against the Dodgers. It was just, this series has kind of been what you expect when you go up against the Dodgers. Yesterday, Jake Irvin gets rocked around. Then, of course, Patrick Corbin actually pitched really well in Tuesday's contest in game one of this series, but the bullpen kind of came in, did not look good. This series, though, like, this is what I expect when you play the Los Angeles Dodgers. You're going to get taken advantage of, right? Like, this is the sort of things that we expect. This is not a team that's ready to win right now. And the Dodgers, of course, they're the overall World Series favorites, or at least they should be in my mind. So what have you kind of made so far of the Nats struggling so far in this series?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, like, the Dodgers record is kind of deceiving. I mean, they're only 15. I say only 15-11. They're still first in it, but you're expecting to see them 20-6, whatever it may be. So, they're not off to the screaming hot start that everyone thought they would get to. Look, the Nationals took 2 of 3 against them in LA last week, and I think that's just kind of hard to repeat in such a short amount of time. The Dodgers have 3 MVPs at the top of their lineup. Those guys make adjustments, and I think you shouldn't underestimate not the power, but I guess the effect of seeing guys in a short amount of time. So the Dodgers, obviously, Patrick Corbin got shelled by this team last week in LA, pitched really well. I think it was 5.5 scoreless innings on Monday or Tuesday. So he made adjustments. Jake Irvin shoved against the Dodgers last week in LA, got shelled last night. They made adjustment to him. So it's just tough when you see the same team that you're not used to seeing, right? They only play 2 series a season because they're in the NL West at so close proximity, in back-to-back weeks. So, they're going to make adjustments to you. You obviously make adjustments to them. Tuesday's game was the game that I thought that got away from them because it all comes down to base running, right? You got 3 key moments in that game. Teoscar Hernandez steals second safely, and then it comes around to score on a single to give the Dodgers the lead. Lane Thomas trying to steal second, hurts himself, and is now on the IL with a grade 2 strain of his left MCL. And then later in the game, you got runners on first and second. Luis Garcia on a slap single the other way should have been sent home easily to, I think, at that point, take the lead, tie the game. Mm-hmm. And Ricky Gutierrez, the third base coach, puts up a late stop sign, which is not Luis's fault. He's been playing really well recently. Should not knock him for that. And then Joey Gallo, who wasn't paying attention, rounds second, and then he gets caught in a rundown. And the Nats don't score. So those are your three big moments. So Tuesday game come down to base running for me because, like you said, Patrick Corbin pitched really well. And then last night, that just might have been the Dodgers being the Dodgers. I mean, scoring 11 runs, getting to Jake Irvin for 6 runs in just less than 5 innings. I mean, that's a brutal lineup when you've got guys like Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, each collecting 4, 3, 1 hit respectively, and each not driving in 2 runs. So, I mean, that's just sometimes facing the Dodgers.
Yeah, and you know what? We've kind of talked about this a little bit here, but I kind of want to get into Davy's usage of the starting staff because we've seen this trend, and really this has been the trend around Major League Baseball as a whole, but I think Davey Martinez is ultra conservative when he comes to his pitchers. Like when I look back to last week, Jake Irvin, when he went against the Dodgers, he had like 73 pitches over 6 innings pitched. He was just killing the Dodgers, 6 strikeouts, only 1 walk. And Davey Martinez decided to pull him. And this is kind of a trend that we've seen with Davey and around Major League Baseball. It's not really just Davey. Again, I want to reiterate that, and I'm not trying to pile on him. I think Davey Martinez is a good manager here, especially within this clubhouse. But Davey Martinez, I want to see him start taking off the training wheels of guys. We kind of saw this with Josiah Gray and kind of how they used kid gloves with him still. You saw this with Mitchell Parker and what he was doing the other night against a very good, or in my opinion, is still a very good Houston Astros offense. But I don't know what to make of this at this point, Bobby. I don't know really what to expect with Davey Martinez. And when does he get to a point where you can allow Jake Irvin to go out there and kind of just unleash the tank, kind of like what you did with Max Scherzer back in 2018 and back in 2019, where you have him go 100 and 105 pitches. I'm not saying guys should be like Max Scherzer and that you should just get the treatment the way that the former Cy Young winner did, but still, when does that point come for Davey Martinez? When does he allow guys to go 95 to 100 pitches? Because in my opinion, I think Jake Irvin is ready for that workload kind of like now, besides last night, obviously.
Yeah, I think, like you mentioned, like the game is different now than it was even 2 or 3 years ago. Like it's just your, starting pitchers across the league aren't going 7, 8 innings anymore. It's usually like if they can give you 6, if they can give you a quality start, that's what pretty much every starter or every club is looking for now. 6 innings, less than 3 runs. If they can give you that, then it's handed out for the bullpen. And I think it's for longevity. Like you mentioned, you saw this with Mackenzie Gore and Josiah Gray. It's still April. It's April 25th. So May doesn't start. The second month of the season doesn't start for another week. And to me, like I get it. I think there is a certain amount of game feel to it. And we saw Davey Martinez do this beautifully in 2019. Like I hate keep harping back to 2019. I get it. I'm a little annoyed like some other fans when everyone points back to the 2019 team because it was 5 years ago. But since we just had the reunion weekend and Brian Dozier took his shirt off, let's revisit it one more time. No, but like Davey Martinez showed that ability to have, there's a huge balance that managers have to strike nowadays between analytics, numbers, matchups, and then just the general feel of the game, the eye test, as it were. One of the great managers that I saw do it, and all my years working at Masson, was Buck Showalter with the Orioles. He was very good at that. And while at the time the Orioles weren't the most analytically driven team, Buck Showalter had his thumb on his team and knew and could kind of tell when someone needed to come out. Davey Martinez showed he could do that in 2019. I look back, I think Jake Irvin's start last week is a great example because, like, you're right, he was at 73 pitches. It was only 6 innings. He had only thrown 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. At that point, maybe give him the 7th. But then again, it was only a 2-0 game, So not like the Nats had a 5-run lead. And last year, especially at the end of last year, Jake Irvin did struggle the third time around, like most pitchers do, right? It's tough going through major league lineups 3 times. So I think it's a longevity thing. What's the point of Drake Irvin, throwing 105 plus pitches and trying to get 7 or 8 innings in April, and then he not being able, go 4 innings in September? What's the point? Again, you have to imagine that this team, I mean, and this is no offense to this team, anyone on this team or anything, but this team is not supposed to compete for a playoff spot. It'd be great if they did. It'd be great if they surprise people. They're hovering around 500. We can talk about maybe they're surpassing expectations early, but this is going to be a lower half of the league standings team, which is fine. That's kind of where they're supposed to be right now. So what's the point of pushing your young guys, Gore, Irvin, Gray, when he gets back, Mitchell Parker in his first 2 major league starts, past 100 plus pitches just to complete 6 innings in April? I don't see the necessary. I'd rather them be able to do that in September. I'd rather them be able to do that next year in May, June, July than April 2024. I just don't really see the need to push them. Like last night, Jake went 103 pitches, but only lasted 4 2/3. So, I think it's a feeling thing for Davey. I know the Nationals are very cautious with these guys. Trevor Williams a little bit because he hasn't started as much, but Trevor Williams and Patrick Corbin not as much because they're veterans. Yeah. And they're both on the last year of their contracts here. So I'm not saying they're going to run them into the ground. I'm just saying they're not as concerned and for their future than they are for the other 3 guys, and include Mitchell Parker. So 4 guys. And you can also include Jackson Rutledge when he gets up here. Cade Cavalli, especially when he gets back here, coming back from time to time. So I'm not too concerned about it right now. I agree with you to an extent that I would maybe like to see a little more Dave Martinez going with his gut than what the analytics or what the numbers say, or even what like the Nationals have a preconceived like pitch count thing for them to say. Because like I've said this before, they try to increase guys on I think it's like a 20-25% basis year by year. So they want all these guys to pitch 20% more innings than they did last year, 20% more outs they recorded than they did last year. So for Jake Irvin, that's probably looking around like 150 innings plus. I think he was like 125-ish last year in the major leagues. So it's all moderation. It's all not pushing too early. And again, I can't stress enough. It's April, and it's the Dodgers. So for his last 2 starts came against the Dodgers. So it doesn't matter who you are. You're probably not going to face that lineup 3 times anyways.
No, those are all fair points. And you know what? I kind of get ahead of myself because it's I'm watching the game and I'm seeing Mitchell Parker, the way that he's pitching. I'm just like, what are we doing, Davey? Why are we doing this? But you know what? It happens.
It's so easy to get frustrated in the moment. I hate to tie it back to another sport that's not baseball, but think about this Caps playoff run. Anyone who's also a Caps fan, this is house money, right? The Caps weren't supposed to be in the playoffs. So we're not supposed to be here. This is exciting. We're just happy to be in the dance, right? But watching it in live, I get so frustrated and upset that they're not playing better. And you have to take a step back. I'm like, oh yeah, they're not supposed to be here. The Rangers won the President's Cup. It's okay that the Rangers are better than the Caps. That's fine. In the moment, you have to realize, you want Mitchell Parker to go 8 innings. You want Mitchell Parker to pitch a shutout. But you have to also remember it's his second major league start, and he is definitely house money. He was not supposed to be up here this early. He definitely was not supposed to be this good. So let's take it easy with Mitchell Parker so he has the longevity to pitch most of this season with the major leagues and then also the rest of his career.
And those are all fair points, Bobby. And now we do have to talk about Lane Thomas, as we kind of mentioned here. He is on the IL. He's got a grade 2 MCL sprain at this point. But if you saw that play, that at first I was like, oh my God, this could be bad. But I think we dodged a bullet for now. So we'll talk about him and kind of what's going to happen. And of course, Shohei Ohtani in town here, making a difference. It's Shohei Ohtani, man. The best athlete in the world, in my opinion. So we'll discuss that. But now let me tell you guys about our friends over at Policygenius. And guys, Policygenius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace, and it saves you time and money so you can provide your family with a financial safety net starting today. With Policygenius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. And of course, guys, I've had some listeners try Policygenius, and what they tell me is that they are pros of the pros, and I love that about them. That is why I want you guys to use Policygenius, because Policygenius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts is on hand to help talk you through it. Talk to a team of more award-winning agents who will walk you through the process step by step. Easily compare quotes from America's top insurers in just a few clicks to find your lowest price. So, of course, check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedonMLB or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/lockedonMLB. And now let me tell you guys about some of our other good friends over at Monopoly Go. And guys, I've been told that I'm a competitive person, and you might think that's true. So yeah, I have a competitive side, and we all do. And my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you big money. But the best part is messing with my friends. I can charge them rent in my iconic properties just like classic Monopoly. Now I can also heist their vaults of riches for myself, and the leaderboards show me who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can team up with friends and people all around the world in time tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get in the game and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go now free on the App Store or the Google Play Store. Now let's get back into it with Bobby Blanco from MASNsports.com. You can catch me over on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at Bobby_Blanco. And of course, Bobby, as we kind of got into it there, Lane Thomas is on the IL now with a grade 2 MCL sprain. This is something where you saw it live in person. It was a little bit worrisome. I can't lie to you, but I think the Nationals dodged a bullet for now, but they brought up Trey Lipscomb now. They kind of rearranged the lineup. I think it was kind of an intriguing lineup yesterday with Trey Lipscomb moving over to first base. But what have you kind of made with Lane Thomas? Do you think this is going to be a pretty lengthy injury, or what is kind of the inside scoop?
I think they definitely dodged a bullet. I think Lane said that himself. He's not going to need surgery. Like you said, if you watched it live, the way that he reacted, my immediate thought was like he tore his ACL, and he could be done for the season. Thankfully, that's not the case. He's walking around, I think, with crutches. And he's got it wrapped. I saw him. He said that trying to keep it loose, can't be too stiff with it right now. So I think the good news is he's not going to need surgery. It's just a strain. The problem is, and they put him on the 10-day IL, which is, obviously an easy first move, but it wasn't an immediate 60-day move. Now that could come later. Of course, they could shift him over to the 60-day if he, his recovery takes a little longer. But, I would expect Lane to be back at some point this season. The problem with a strain, anything really, but especially that kind of ligament in your knee, there's no real timetable for how you return. It's just how that specific body heals itself, right? So it's it could be a month, it could be the whole first half, it could be just a couple of weeks. All he needs to do is ice it, and then he'll be back. We don't really know, but I think the big takeaway is that no surgery, no tear, and he'll be back some point this season.
Yeah, and I think those are all good signs because Lane Thomas has also kind of been off to a slow start this year. But if you look back historically, besides last year, that was an outlying year. Lane Thomas has always kind of started off relatively slow, even back to his Cardinals days, even down in the minor leagues, he even started slow. So I wasn't concerned with the way he started off this year, but it just kind of sucks that now he's going to have some adversity on top of the slow start to this season. But if you know Lane Thomas, I think Nationals fans have gotten to know him real well this year. I mean, and really over the last few years, because he's been in the lineup every single day, has been relatively healthy from day one. So, I mean, I think Lane Thomas will be just fine. Hopefully, this is going to be kind of just a blip in the radar and he can get on with the season because Lane Thomas, he's one of the leaders in the clubhouse, man. You're in there every single day, basically. You've seen it. I think we all have kind of talked about it this year as Lane Thomas kind of taken that leadership role. And I don't know, man. It sucks to see that, but I think Lane Thomas should be okay. That'll be fine. But Bobby Blanco, Shohei Ohtani is in town. You're the second biggest name in DC this week only because Shohei is in town, Bobby. Let's kind of talk about Shohei and just kind of the hype around him. But of course, when we do that, let me tell you guys about our friends over at PrizePicks. And guys, when we talk about PrizePicks, this is what you need to know, that spring training is over and baseball season is officially underway. So don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less and add them to your PrizePicks entry today. Get on the playoff action, win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. PrizePicks is the best way to get on the action in sports from more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, Georgia, and of course, Virginia here in the DMV. You want to play alongside some of PrizePicks' favorite players like Meek Mill and Sugar Sean O'Malley? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the PrizePicks community each week. And guys, when I've played this, I've had so much fun. It's the #1 fantasy sports app for a reason, and because it's just so much damn fun. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Now we get back into it with Bobby Blanco from MASNsports.com. We're going to preview Yamamoto versus Gore today. But first and foremost, Shohei Ohtani is at Nationals Park. This is something I think any Nationals fan, if you're available today to go to Game 3 of the series, you're going to want to go see Shohei Ohtani, man. He's not pitching. He's not doing anything, but still, he is worth the price of admission just himself. Seeing himself out there, I mean, seeing the third base side as well of Nationals Park, you see all the players, or not all the players, all the fans out there. It's insane, man. Shohei Mania is just insane to see him in DC. Could you imagine him wearing a Washington Nationals jersey and just kind of I know you're shaking your head no, being like, no, I can't imagine that. I don't think any team out there is going to give him $700 million besides the Dodgers, but still, it's insane, man. Like everywhere this guy goes, it's national media. I mean, you're in the press box every single night when the Nationals are at home. You see all the national media members that are there every single day. There are Japanese reporters there every single day covering him. I mean, it is insane. People do not understand what we are witnessing when you have Shohei Ohtani in town.
Yeah, don't take my face of disgust as in like the Nationals never do that. No. It was like as a reporter, I don't want him in DC because of everything you just said, because of how much attention he brings. He makes my job that much harder just by being there. So no, I do not want to see Shohei Ohtani. I mean, I do. It'd be amazing, but like as a professional, it just the attention that he brings makes my job so much harder. Yeah, if you look at Nationals Park attendance so far, the two highest weekday games are both the last two games against the Dodgers. And it's not even close. Outside of opening day, I should say, opening day was a sellout against the Pirates, but outside of that, the last two games have the highest attendance for a weekday game at Nationals Park this season, and I wonder why that is. Oh, it's Shohei Ohtani. I think I've been on record with this. Like, I was annoyed with his free agency. I'm glad he finally decided what it was in December. I almost muted his name on Twitter because I was just like, I'm so sick of hearing about him. Just sign somewhere. And then the scandal with his translator, like, I don't care. Like, I'm so glad he's on the West Coast and he only comes here once a year. But he's amazing, man. Like, he hit the hardest hit home run of his career last night against the Nationals. It's also kind of crazy. This is his first trip to DC. Yeah. That's kind of wild that he's only ever played the Nationals out in LA, either with the Angels or last week with the Dodgers. So, and he's the biggest baseball player on the planet. He's the biggest, obviously, Japanese player on the planet. And I think it's kind of a cool, like, the Nationals held Japanese Heritage Night Tuesday night. Obviously, DC with the cherry blossoms has a long history with Japan. and are basically the symbol of our two countries' relationships. And I think it was cool that, I mean, now I don't want to get too sentimental about it, but like, it is kind of cool that Shohei was able to come here, during peak cherry blossom time. And, I'm sure there was, think about that those attendance numbers, those are not just Nationals fans. Those are obviously, there's a bunch of Dodgers fans in the DC area, but that's also just baseball fans in general who want to go see him live, and they got their money's worth last night. And then you're also just talking about people of Japanese descent wanting to go see the guy who is the face of their country right now, in person. So I think that one, it was really cool that, he's here and he's doing Shohei Ohtani things, blasting home runs, driving in runs, playing unbelievable. And then two, also just kind of being a symbol for this sport, a symbol for his country, and coming to DC, which, outside of any probably West Coast city, because of their proximity to Japan and the rest of Asia, has a very high Asian and Japanese population and celebrates, that culture because of the long history, because of the cherry blossoms around the area. So I don't know. Again, I don't want to get too sentimental about it, but I thought it was pretty cool.
No, it's very cool. And as you kind of said, that the Heritage Night on Tuesday, wearing the cherry blossom jersey. And of course, now Yamamoto is going to be pitching against the Nats today, which I kind of want to talk about him because he's always, he's going to play second fiddle behind Shohei Ohtani. Anyone is. Mookie Betts is playing second fiddle. Freddie Freeman, all these guys are MVP kind of guys who can win it any single day. But when you have Shohei Ohtani on your team, man, that's the way it's going to be. And especially with this kind of gambling story, and it's just taken on a whole new life as far as media coverage goes. But I do want to talk about this today because if you're going to game 3 today of this series, you're in for a treat of a pitching matchup. Yamamoto versus Mackenzie Gore. Yamamoto is filthy. Over those last few starts, though, he's given up 3 earned runs over his last 2 starts. So maybe the Nationals can kind of catch some luck here. It's a 4:05 game. I would not be surprised if the Nationals kind of jump on him a little bit early. He's got 4 pitches. He's got his fastball, a curveball, a cutter, and a splitter. All 4 of his pitches are nasty. You see pitching ninja Rod Freeman. He'll post his highlights all the damn time. But luckily for the Nats, you got Mackenzie Gore. Mackenzie Gore has been the Nationals' best pitcher outside of Mitchell Parker, I guess we could say. But Mitchell Parker has been ridiculous. We talked about him plenty over this week. But Yamamoto versus Gore, man, let me know what you think about it. This is going to be an awesome game, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a great pitching matchup. And, all those groups of people that I just mentioned, like Nats fans, Dodgers fans, baseball fans in general, this is kind of a pretty marquee pitching matchup that you're going to see tonight. And I'm interested, obviously this is a Nationals podcast. I'm a Nationals reporter. You're a Nationals guy. We're both Nationals fans, and we're not working. Like, I'm more interested in see how Mackenzie handles this Dodgers lineup. A lot of power lefties in that lineup, Shohei included, Freddie Freeman, who, could be on his deathbed and go 3 for 4 with a walk against the Nationals. But I think that I'm interested and, kind of tie it back to our earlier conversation about Davey and letting pitchers go. Like, if Mackenzie is in a groove in a game that you have to win to avoid a sweep, does Mackenzie have a little bit of a longer leash than other guys? He has had the longest leash of all of them so far. I think he's the only one. He cracked 100 in his first start, and he's the only one who has gone over 90 in each of his starts in terms of pitch count. So if he struggles, it's a different conversation, obviously. But if Mackenzie is in a groove, keeping them in the game, heck, maybe he even gets a lead early, that'd be nice, and is holding the Dodgers off, does Davey let him go a little further than normal and try to lock this down? And then with Yamamoto, I mean, he comes over the 12-year, $325 million guaranteed. What are they doing? He's 25 years old. He's never pitched in the majors. Oh, he's nasty. You mentioned the pitching ninja tracks. I mean, you look at his numbers. He hasn't been stellar. Like,
no.
He has 2 shutout outings, 5 innings against the 10 innings combined between the Cardinals and the Cubs. But he got shelled by the Padres in his first start. And then he also got shelled by them again last week when he faced them. And then he got hit around by the Mets in his last time out. So, he's not like he's, the current Cy Young favorite. Like he's hittable.
Oh yeah.
He has good. Don't get me wrong. He's great stuff. He's a great pitcher, but he's hittable. So can the Nationals get to him early? You know, I feel like, and maybe at some other point we could talk about the offense a little bit more, but like I feel like the Nationals are kind of stuck in a limbo where they want to attack certain pitchers and they want to let other pitchers kind of come to them. And what I mean by that, like raise their pitch count up. Like I think over the weekend they had an opportunity to do that against Justin Verlander, who was coming back from an injury, and they did the opposite. They tried to attack him early, but that kept his pitch count down, and that let him go 6 innings. So maybe they try to let Yamamoto come to them, raise his pitch count, wait for their pitch. If they show a little more patience in the zone, they can get him out of there earlier, and hopefully McKenzie can shove. Either way, it's going to be a great matchup, and the Nationals kind of need this one to avoid this week.
Of course, and this is a big day in DC sports, man. Unfortunately, this game will be taking the backseat to the NFL draft, so I know you're a Commanders fan, Bobby. I'm a Commanders fan. I'm sure plenty of listeners out there as well are Commanders fans, so we'll have 2 TVs set up. Maybe you're going to be at the game, and you'll be speeding home to watch the draft, and we'll see if the Commanders can finally land their guy. But Bobby, I always appreciate the time, man. You can catch his work over at massonsports.com. And Bobby, we will catch you another time, man. We always appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ryan. Good show.
No problem, man. We will catch everybody on the other hand of this series. And of course, I will have you on tomorrow's Locked On Nationals. I'll see you guys. Have a good one.